January 9th, 2020 at 12:06 hours, Detective Moffat calling case number 19-83744.
Hello, this is Joe.
Hey, Joe, Detective Moffat with the Chandler Police Department. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I'm well. Sorry, I called you, left a couple messages. I think it was actually Christmas Eve, but and then never heard back from you. And it's been on my list to call you back again.
Sir, I completely understand. The 23rd, I disconnected. I think I was the vacation, and then we went up to the mountains for 10, 14 days, and
nice.
I had no Wi-Fi calling and bad reception. So who knows what happened? So
that's a great 10 to 14 days.
Yeah. There's been a lot of activity in the case the last, since even December, all through December.
Oh yeah.
But just getting hounded by social media and the Fox News reports guys, and I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in being on that social side of there were a few comments that I had made about how great of a guy Charles was, and that I didn't think any of this happened because I knew him before, during, and I knew events about what was happening at the house after. You might remember, I'm of course the owner of the house on Four Peaks, right?
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I spoke with you the morning of the shooting.
You probably did, yeah, because I think we spoke that day.
Okay. Because I called the Chandler Police Department. They said, yes, our police officers are on site. There's a situation. I will have them call you. I identified myself as the owner. You called me, verified who lives there, and you had just said Charles sustained injuries that were not survivable, and that you were on the scene trying to figure out what had happened. So I thought that I would be hearing from you within, a few days or something like that. I just let it, I think it's just been the process of then letting the news reports, or at least the police officers do their work. My best friend in, since even high school, his name, he lives across the street from me down in Chandler.
Gotcha.
And he's been talking me through understanding that this stuff doesn't happen overnight. You don't solve this case overnight. It's going to take a long time, so just let the police do their work. Don't be part of social things. Don't go on news reports, because that just creates problems for people that do that.
Yeah.
They're questioned, they're ridiculed, they're this, they're that. Early on, I wrote down on a piece of paper detailed events that were happening before the weekend. I spoke with Charles the weekend before. I think he was murdered. I think it was on a Wednesday or Thursday morning. Thursday morning. Okay. I was speaking with Charles on the phone, a live conversation during the weekend before, and he was on his business trip. He said he was coming into town. I think he was coming from Texas. He said he's coming back into town, and he said, Joe, you didn't know Charles, but he had a Texas, Louisiana swing accent. So every time I talk in Charles's voice, I always have to add that, hey, Joe, I can't stay at the house. Lori and I just are getting along. And he didn't tell me he was scared for his life, but he says, it's best that Lori and JJ have the house, and I'll just come and go because I've got business in so many different places in Texas, and I think it was in Nevada and California. He was an investment guy, so his partnership, and they would buy books of investment business, and then he would go and start setting up working the books of business. Well, he was really busy during this time. He was just had 3 cities that he was bringing on new books of business. So he's like, I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to be there a week, a month. So, it's good that Lori and JJ are here because her family's here, and I want her to be safe, and I want them to be taken care of. And, with Lori's family here, it's a good thing. Now, I also might tell you that going back to January, when Lori disappeared, in the first conversations, Charles came to my house. crying his eyes out. He was a 60-year-old stud, good friend of mine for 10 years, crying his eyes out to me that Lori's abandoned the family. And here's JJ asking every day where Mommy is. Where's Mommy? Where's Mommy? Tell me a little bit about the stuff that she was getting into with just being mentally unstable, has also been supported by a lot of the divorce decree the attorneys brought up the last week as well. Like with all these things that Charles was saying about Lori, he was fearful of his life even back in February. Well, he was doing the same thing to me. I support that. I know that that's exactly how he was feeling. February-ish, he came and he was looking to rent, the studio above my garage at my house in Chandler. I said, "Gosh, Charles, it's just kind of like and he's like, but I don't know if I'm going to need it. But we were talking about it, but then all of a sudden he disappeared, and I think that was maybe the time frame. Of course, March, April, May, maybe Lori returned. Lori returned sometime in his life, right? They started trying to work out.
They reunited back in Texas.
Yeah, back to Texas. So, and then June was another call from him to say, we're moving back to Phoenix. Do you have anything? And I said, gosh, Charles, I just cleared out the end of May. I just had a tenant move out of that Four Peaks house. Four Peaks is open. So they arrived the middle of June. I think the 20th was when Lori texted me that she had the utilities turned on and she wanted to move stuff in. And I know that I had some cleaning to do. I went over there a few times and met with Lori about a punch list to clean the house up and, fix the sink that, the door handle that, pull this, the pull that. And they moved in, she moved in, then Charles would come and go because he was, of course, on these business trips. One time I was at the house and I met with Charles and Lori, do a punch list on what needed to be done. And then Charles would go on his trip again. But then, so you have some history, at least from last year. But then on that Sunday or Monday, before he came back into town, the Thursday before he was shot, Charles and I were communicating, and he was telling me, I can't be at the house. Do you have another place that I can live? Well, by that time, I had someone that was living in my studio apartment at my house, because Charles was like, I only need it for like a week, a month, maybe a few days, because I'll be coming and going, but I want to be close to Lori and JJ because I want to see JJ. And he goes, but Joe, I can't stay at the house. I can't stay at the house. Lori and I, we've got several things to work through still, and it's not good, and I just don't want to crowd that space if she's going to be there. I want her and JJ to be comfortable at the house. So I have a neighbor that lives right across our walls connect. Big house in right near my house off of Lindsay and Riggs. So I went over there. I called him and I said, hey, you've got a casita. I've got a business guy that's going to be here once a month, or 1 week a month. And I took pictures. And this guy, he lived in Hawaii at the time, and he said, yeah, here's the access code to my house. I went over there, took pictures of the casita. I sent them to Charles, say, hey, Charles, my neighbor here has this place. He'd be willing to let you stay there. And Charles was like, fantastic. I'll take it. So he was already planning to not be at the house with Lori because it just wasn't good.
When was he planning that? The condo or the thing from your neighbor's house?
It was that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I had gone over to my neighbor's house to take pictures. The week he was killed.
Okay, gotcha.
I texted him those pictures Monday or Tuesday. It's in my phone. And then, of course, he was telling me the day before on Wednesday, okay, I'll be there. But in the morning, let's go see the house tomorrow morning. And that was Thursday. He goes, I think I knew that he was going to be dropping off JJ or getting JJ, and then he wanted to go see the house right after that.
Gotcha.
Of course, we didn't meet. So I'm at work Thursday morning, and my neighbors, I'm good friends with neighbors both to the north and to the south of that house on Four Peaks. Okay, they both have my phone number. I'm in communication with both of them. Well, one of them starts to text me immediately. There's yellow police tape around the house. It's a crime scene. Something's not good. They start sending me videos of the Fox News reports that, there's a situation, and there's police all over. And so I immediately text Charles, are you okay? And I then another text message to Lori, same text message, are you okay?
Yeah.
Where Charles doesn't respond. Later that morning, I would say 11 o'clock-ish, I get a text, and this is all on my phone, I get a text back from Lori that says, we are all okay, I'll call and explain later. And I'm like, okay, well, like, I don't even know that I spoke to you at that point, because I remember when you called me, you told me that Charles sustained injuries that were not survivable. Like, he was shot and he didn't survive his injuries.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I knew that yet, or if I just, Lori was telling me we're all okay, I'll explain later. Like, I don't know that a text message that we're all okay is, like, I just don't understand. Like, but regardless, the day's events, like, so then, like, that afternoon, I think the next day I went to my neighbor's house, this neighbor's to the south, and they're, like, telling me, Joe, like, we don't even get what's going on there, because this guy, the shooter, because they've seen him come and go, had the same gray truck that Charles had, the Ford F-150.
Yeah, his was white, but yes.
Yeah, well, it was sitting in the driveway for like the next 3, 4, 5 days, and the neighbors were just up in arms, like, there is a killer living in the house next to us that's not supposed to be there. Joe, you got to get this guy out of here. Like, our whole neighborhood is on eggshells. So, and he's telling me, I don't know what's going on at the house, but Thursday afternoon, the day of the murder, they're having a pool party at the house, at Lori's house. There's loud music, there's lots of people, there's kids making noise, there's swimming. It's a pool party. And they're like, wait a second, like, someone was just murdered there this morning. So I don't know how you guys puzzle these pieces together, but just how crazy the events are that had happened before, supporting all the stuff that's coming out in the last several months about the fact that, yeah, from February, Charles was fearful, and then the day before, showing him an apartment and another place to live because he knew he couldn't stay at the house. Alex had been at the house for several days before and after the shooter, Alex, her brother.
Yeah.
And, the reasons I had, part of this right at the beginning was like, oh, Lori, maybe Charles had a rough side. Maybe Charles was beating up Lori and her brother was there to defend her or whatever. And maybe I was like, gosh, I've known the guy for 10 years, but I've never known that he was like that ever in my life. People sometimes have a separate personality, So early on, I think people were like, oh, poor Lori, like she had to deal with this for so long. And, Alex was just happened to be there and, shot Charles or whatever. But I think all the events that just kept going, like every time I talked to Lori, never cried, never remorseful, never like, Lori, what's the plan for the burial? Well, I've got all these family members to deal with, so I've got to go to Texas and Louisiana and plan something there. And Charles wants to be buried he wanted his ashes to be spread in Kauai, so I've got to plan a trip to take all the family members to Kauai. And this is what she was doing. She's like, so I've got 2 or 3 things to plan. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you a month at the end of August. You just need to, you're going to have to vacate the house. I can't have this continue to be a memory for me. Charles was my friend, you're my friend, but I just need to close my doors on this house and just get it out of, I have a lot of rental properties in Chandler. So I'm like, this house just needs to be off my list.
Yeah.
So that's why she was able to stay there through the end of August. But, I think that, she kept asking, well, come over, I want to ask you about a few things. I'm like, no, I am not going over to that house. My friend Jeff, who's the police officer, don't go there alone. Don't go anywhere. Go somewhere public if she wants to talk about the situation. So I just think, and I don't know what pieces of any of this. I mean, I've been called by the Vallow family because they knew some of the relatives of Charles's that were able to access his calendar and his appointment scheduler. for the last several years. Charles was very, very meticulous and precise about his appointments, and my name was on those appointments several times. So one of the family members was even telling me, yeah, Joe, like we saw your name. You're the only person, like, we're talking to FBI and law enforcement, and, we'll talk to Charles's friends that we can identify because we know who they are in his calendar and his scheduler and his notes.
Yeah.
But they were just telling me about how deep this cult is, how deep this cult is, and that they've been getting threats in Louisiana, and that they've just been off any social communication or any providing any comments about all the social crap that's going on, because there's so much speculation out there. I just also, my wife and I, of course, we own the house. We have plans to do things with the house, but we have some like we're religious. We have certain things that we want to kind of ask if there's an opportunity to have any information about the events that happened in our house.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just, if do you have any questions from me about Lori? Do you have any questions about the neighbors, the comments, the pictures, the text message threads from Charles?
I actually
the
have
text message
threads with you and Charles because I have Charles's phone.
Okay,
so
got
I
it.
downloaded
Okay.
it, so I have that.
Okay.
The pool party was something that was new to me. I didn't know that, and Kay, Charles's sister, hadn't told me that. So you got that information from the neighbors on either side of them that there was a pool party, or did you go to the house that day?
Yes, no, the neighbors on the south side of me. Of course, the neighbors were in communication with me the whole time during the day and afterwards because they were scared. There's a murderer at the house. The house is there. I see the guy come and go driving his car. So I had gone over there, and they had said, why was there a pool party there? And I'm like, what do you mean? Loud music? Swimming? Lots of people swimming in the backyard? You could hear kids playing, swimming. I'm like, I don't know. And all I could think was maybe she was trying to return the normalcy for JJ, the autistic kid. If you keep these autistic kids on a schedule and a routine, that they have some normalcy, maybe.
Yeah,
and maybe the fact that he was used to swimming every day in the afternoon with Lori's sister, who would drive up from wherever she lived in Gilbert, Santana Mesa. She didn't live too far away, but she drove to the house. I saw her there with her family and her kids several times. And I'm like, well, maybe Lori just had the family over to try to give JJ some normalcy because it was a crazy day for him,
Yeah.
But I don't know. But, I hear things like, the shooting happened, and Lori then left the house to take the kids to school or different places, and then they came back. She came back, and then they called 911. Right? Like planning all the events.
That's not actually what happened. Lori left according to her, to take JJ to school, and then Alex called 911 while she was gone, and we were already on scene by the time Lori got back.
Got it. Yeah.
So I do believe there was some delay on Alex's part of calling 911. I don't think he called right away. But 911 had been called, and we were already on scene by the time Lori got back.
Yeah. And, I'm not a person to say the speculation of, well, they were planning the crime scene, they were doing this. You guys, that's your how the story unfolds, how everything. I mean, you hear things. You'll get Lori back for more questioning. Alex's murder is another whole twist in the complete circus of a story. But here's so here's my thing about it. I was crazy about the fact that here's my friend Charles, which was a sweet, generous family man. We were so good friends. Charles and Lori had rented a house from me years when they first moved here from Texas. They lived in Shadow Ridge, which is at Lindsay and Riggs. It's another home where I have a rental house. Charles and Lori rented a house from me from there for 5 years when they both moved here from Texas, years and years ago. So for 5 years, Charles and I were across the street from each other. He'd come over, I'd go over, and even when they left to move to Hawaii, he left all his furniture, all his TVs, almost like was going to give me a car and just say, Joe, here, just take it because we were moving and you can, you keep it at the house, use it as a rental or whatever. That's how generous, like, Charles was, like, with things. It wasn't like he was like, pay me $5,000 and you can have this stuff. He's like, here, just have it, right? Wow. Well, years later, Charles and I are maintaining friendships while they're in Hawaii, and we're here, and we're talking about doing a house swap. Hey, Charles, you come here with your family, stay in Chandler, so you can visit your Chandler family with Lori, and I'll go to Hawaii and stay in your house in Princeville. And we were, for 2 summers, we were trying to set that up. Then finally, one year, we went there. Yeah. We went to Princeville, and we had a barbecue with the Vallows, JJ, Tylee, Lori, Charles, at their house in the golf course. Charles, just carrying my dog, like they live on the top of this house, and the beach was on this really steep hill to go down a hill, and he would carry my kids down the hill. Just like this guy that has everything about family and just being generous and everything. So of course, when they came back, I was the first person that he was looking to get a house to rent, So that was the communication that you were seeing with Charles and I, where even 7:49 the night before he was shot, his last text message to me, okay, I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll call you when I'm done. And I guess my assumption was that was like after I dropped JJ off at school, I'll be back and we'll go look at that house to rent. Not too many people knew about the fact that, of course, I went to my neighbor's house and they're telling me these things, and the pool party and the things that were happening, and then Alex still being at the house several days before and several days after this happened. I'm in the house, I don't want to do any. I don't want to. If a homeowner has the right to, there's no police report out on what happened other than what you guys released to the news, and I think that's what's out, right? I don't know if there's more. I don't know if I have the ability to go to records at Chandler and say, hey, it's my house. Do I have the ability to receive any additional information so I can either clean the house where it needs to be cleaned, or if I can, do some type of closing so that I can be able to go into the house. I don't know where the things happened. I don't know where his body was. I don't know, where the gunshots were, if I need to look for, other gunshot damage anywhere.
Since we finished up in July?
I've been there several times. Okay. I've been there several times because I have the house for sale.
Gotcha.
And it's just taken me a while I wanted to paint the house. I wanted to paint the outside. I wanted to redo the backyard just because I've been getting the house ready for sale. I have a contract on the house. We're due to close the end of January. Like literally 2 or 3 weeks. So, but, of course, that was the reason that I didn't want the house in the first place, because I don't want to go there. It's just a terrible feeling even being in the neighborhood. So, but, I think the most important thing that I wanted to communicate with you is that, I had communicated with the Vallow family, and they had told me some things about what they were privileged to because, their brother, father, uncle, person died. Charles died in the house, and they were, looking for some answers. I kind of don't want to know about any more things that happen in the house, but I just want to know that if there's any more information that you might have or need from me, like even the text message threads from Lori that we were talking about through the days before and after, like the days after where I'm like, whose red SUV is that? Whose gray truck is that? She's like, oh, the red SUV was Charles's rental car, and the truck is her brother's, and it's still out front, still sitting there. The neighbors were sending me pictures of it, like, why is this truck still here? So, yeah. But I don't know if that's anything as useful information other than, just connecting with you and just saying, I'm selling the house. Someone else will be in there. I don't know that you would need any more information there, but
did you guys
certainly...
Because you clearly saw the piece of flooring that we cut out in the living room? Or did Lori already have it fixed?
The piece of flooring that you cut out?
Yeah, we cut out a piece of flooring in the living room. We actually
No idea.
Sawzall, and so Lori must have already had that fixed.
Oh, geez. No idea, sir. No idea where that was or when that... Because there was extra flooring in the garage.
Okay, so she must have fixed that. And then we cut out a piece of the trim board also. That was so on the east wall of the living room. We cut that out also. So she must.
You say the living room. There was a family room where the TV was by the kitchen.
Walk in the front door, the
yes.
big wood floor that was open. I think she had some mirrors on the wall. If you were like when you walk in the front door to the right, and then when you walk at the front door straight ahead of you, you're looking at the windows that go out to the pool area and the backyard.
Yes, yes.
So right there, kind of as you walked in the front door, on that far wall underneath the windows, we cut out a piece of trim board too. So I'm guessing she probably had fixed that also. So that isn't something that you even
okay,
saw.
there was a very grotesque repair there, like almost like she put some wood there and then took caulking and just made it. And I was like, what the heck is that? I had no idea that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was from Lori replacing things that you guys took out.
That we took out, yeah. So she must have replaced. It was only it was like a single plank that we cut out, and it was probably, I'm going to guess, if my memory serves me correctly, 14 to 16 inches long. So I
was going to say 12, 15 inches. Yes, exactly.
So she probably replaced that plank. Obviously, the incident happened in the living room there. So. We were everybody's statements when we investigated this added up. There was 3 people in the house, obviously, according to everybody in the house at the time of the shooting. So their statements all kind of match, but it just didn't sit right with us. So we've been investigating it ever since, and had a case open, and we were waiting for DNA and fingerprints on the bat that was inside the house and a bunch of other stuff. And then clearly, everything kind of goes wacky as soon as all these other events start unfolding, and the shooting in Gilbert, and then her new husband's wife dying in Idaho, and then the kids being missing, and so everything goes just wacky. Basically, after she leaves your house in August, did she move out right at the end of August?
Text message from her says that they're out August 31st. They're all done and they're gone. And I had done some emails like, well, good luck to you. And like, where are you going? I asked her because are you going to Texas? And then she never replied after that. So, August 31st was the last day that she was here in our house.
Joe, what's your email address? I'm sending you an email real quick.
Okay.
It has my desk number and stuff on it. And then if you could, from like the day of the incident on, do you know how to screenshot and email the screenshots?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, let me know and we can have somebody do it. But if you know how to screenshot and email the screenshots, I'd be interested for your text communication with Lori, basically on the day of the incident until you kind of cut off tell your last communication.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's just kind of more the historical and kind of what's going on in her world type thing that I'd be interested in.
Sure. Did you guys, the gun that was used, was that Lori's, Charles's, was it Alex's?
It was Alex's.
See, why the hell did he have a gun at the house? He wasn't even supposed to be at the house. We have a crime-free addendum lease, too. Like, I didn't know that someone with a record, like, that was completely out of...
The media has some of this screwed up. He was legally and lawfully able to carry a firearm. His rights were the exact same as yours and mine. So, and we've actually gone through, we did that, when this first happened, and confirmed that his rights, he had that assault case in Texas, but his rights had been restored and he was able to carry a firearm. So,
well, we all have a history, like whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Is there any questions that you want me to answer for you if I can?
I think my wife, she was just kind of curious about if we were going to have the house blessed or do something with a priest at the house to kind of like just get the demons out of the house. She was like, "Where do we go? What do we do?" And if I told her it's the front room, that makes sense. That the board and like when you say the flooring was removed right by that area, because I remember seeing the baseboard.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the flooring was removed. So when you walk in the door, and you were to make a right down the first hallway that walks into the side of the kitchen, it was kind of right in that area is where the flooring would have been removed at, and then obviously the trim piece was across that room.
Okay. Now, is that where the body and there was blood there? Is that why it was removed, or was there damage?
Where the flooring was removed, and if you pay close attention, you might be able to see where it was. But it was kind of, when you go in the front door and you make a right along that wall, it was right down right there.
Okay. Well, again, I've been, during my Christmas break, I was like reading, trying to find information because it was really heavy, lots of information and updates every day. You just get, like, as an outside person, you guys do this for a daily and a living. And for me, it was like, gosh, I just want to find out anything I can. But then I'm like, you just get so infatuated. Your life gets consumed by this. And I'm like, no, I'm done with it. I want to communicate to authorities, anything that they might need to know. And then I think the stuff is going to come to a head pretty soon. There's so much activity going on right now. There's so much, but I think just the fact that I knew that the Vallow family knew and they had more information about what happened in that house, and they were complete. They had a celebration of life for Charles, which I didn't know about. I didn't know that there was something in Louisiana for Charles. And, I've been communicating with some of the family members because they appreciated the fact that I was defending Charles's person when those first reports about, this guy comes to a gunfight with a bat beating up his wife and her brother, and I'm like, no, that's not how it happened. That's not Charles. No one would ever support the fact that he's a violent person. So that bothered me for a long time. And what I could do, I was closer to Charles than I was to Lori. I liked Lori. I thought she was a great mom, like a lot of people are saying. She was a great mom for a long time, and they did. I have 8 kids, and 5 of them are adopted. And Charles and I were always having those conversations about adopting kids, because he did. JJ was adopted. Yep. So we would always have those conversations about how it's going, like what's the challenges, what are you doing? But and Lori was right in line with those as well. When we went to California or to Hawaii to see them, she was just very hospitable, so I can't say that it's a long history. It's just been a couple of years, like everyone else said. She's gone off the wagon. So, but
kind of, as far as the religious views and stuff, it's just kind of way out there. I mean, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, let me see how I can figure out if I can send the thread of the text messages of Lori and just get anything to you so that you have that for your record. But and then. I don't know, the neighbors that are at the house, man, they had their eyes and ears peeled of events that were happening. And, some of those comments are directly from them that, Joe, why was there a pool party at the house? I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So
I sent you an email, and it has my name, my desk phone number, and then and my email address. So now you have my direct contact information in case you happen to have any questions, or if anything comes out, you can just call me directly.
Got it. I did. I received your email here. Okay. All right. And as a homeowner, are we able to receive any other additional information on the report of the house, or is that all closed until this is all figured out and done? And
so I'll share with you. It is my opinion, and obviously with Alex's death, it's going to be harder to prove. But it's my opinion that they set Charles up for some sort of encounter. So I don't think it was. I don't think, and I haven't thought that it was exactly as they say since this started. But it's a matter of us trying to prove it, and that's what we've been working on.
Understood.
So we are keeping this open, and if and when more information gets developed. I've been actively working this case with the FBI, with Gilbert PD, with The FBI out of Idaho, the two different agencies in Idaho. There's a sheriff's department, and then there's Rexburg, Idaho. So, I mean, on a daily basis, we're doing stuff with this case. So I'm keeping it open for now, in case I'm able to come up with criminal charges on Lori. So, but once that's closed, then you can request a copy of the report and get that. 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 The report and get